Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Respecting the Beer. I'm Decker, the interim host for this wonderful podcast. I say interim because, well, Gary, they told me on the way over that he got lost, and I think he was trying to figure out more about what is going on in this world. Miss Frizzle picked him up. He's in a school bus. He's very small. He's microscopic. He's eating away sugars inside of some wort somewhere, and we'll pull him out sometime. But in the meantime, until he's aged fermently and deliciously, we are here, and I've got the man himself, Bobby Fleshman, the brewer, the most of the name. I was going to do the math and say like the 98% of the
letters.
Name. The letters, yeah. But
yeah, minus the 2.
Yeah, I did radio, so I'm not going to try to do math in this thing, but. We're up in the Prohibition Room. How you doing, Bobby?
Great. We're without a net today. No Gary. So here we go.
This is going to go off the rails so fast. Gary was the glue that held us together, and now we're a free form. It's going to be great. I can't wait to see where we end up.
Yeah, and also we don't have Allison, so I won't get chastised as much for what that's worth.
Hey, no more getting yelled at for buying barrels when you weren't supposed to buy barrels. So I guess
we should just jump on Pro Brewer and let's just start shopping right now. Let's do this in real time.
Hey, we got an open card. We got an open tab.
ProBrewer.com. But Decker made us do it.
Yeah, you can blame me. That's fine. But you have to name the beer after me. That's fine.
All right, yeah.
But we're here to talk about a beer, which is one of my favorite parts of these episodes. I was listening to the one about the Hildy Pils on the way over because a Czech Pilsner is a delicious way to go. One of my, it was probably the style that got me into craft lager. I've got air quotes in this visual podcast that we've got going on. But it's a solid beer. The Hildy Pils, one of my favorites that we go. But you changed. I went downstairs, tried to order one. It's not on tap.
Too many damn beers vying for that Lukr. We have 2 of those Faucets, and too many of them that are fighting for those 2 slots.
And now you're adding another one. Is this beer going to be on a Lukr tap, or how?
I was about to say I didn't think of it till now, but I think maybe this is my way of asking for 4 Lukr Faucets by adding so many beers that require it and having so many complaints.
ProBuild.com. I think that's where we're at.
ProBrewer.com. Classified. Okay. These probably won't end up on the classifieds because no one's going to let them go. But I'm surprised they let me have the 2 we have.
Are they a closely guarded secret in the Czech, or
no? I think it's the only way to drink the beer in the Czech Republic. Here we discovered them in the craft scene 5-10 years ago, and it's starting to exponentiate in its adoption. They are sexy. I'm watching beer porn to my left.
Get some soft jazz going.
David's got the screen.
Is that a left-hand side pour? Ooh, a real slow one. I like that.
Brass one, the stainless. They're all beautiful.
There we go.
All right. But Pilsners are kind of like the pinnacle of brewing. I think I've said that a few times, how you can't hide anything behind them, how they showcase your local ingredients and water and hops. And we drink with our eyes. In fact, I just pulled each of us a sample of this beer to try kind of in real time, this new Italian Pilsner that we're making. And the first pull of any keg that's not filtered could be a little bit hazy. Some of that yeast has dropped out. But you'll notice when you look at your 2 side by side as we have here, your first sip is with your eyes. And you want to drink the one that's so brilliant on that second pull.
Yeah, that's the one that I got the third pull, I think.
Yeah,
so mine is crystal clear.
Yeah, after like 10 or 15 ounces of beer, you're clear, you're ready to rock.
And that's one of the defining characteristics of an Italian Pilsner is that it is unfiltered. And with the dry hop, and so there's a lot going on in the beer after the direct fermentation.
Yeah. Where do we even start with it? I mean, do you want to do our... what this thing tastes like before we go too deep in this?
Yeah, we've got David here as well, and he's our producer. There he is. That's the only words he's allowed to say besides his review of this next beer. But I think we should. This is great. What's the name before we?
We're going to call it an Italian Pilsner. I'll get into it in a minute. As why it doesn't have a name yet. But do you want any descriptors? I'm going to it completely blind.
I want to go into it blind.
Go for it.
Because I think.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's see. Okay. It's quite crispy. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. It's got unique nose on it that I don't know how to place it.
I'm going to say light and refreshing is where I would put it first in my head.
Light and refreshing. Yeah, it's really hop forward for being a Pilsner.
Yeah.
But what are the hops? Are they noble hops that you're using?
Yeah, well, Saaz is the hop that we lean on kind of in the middle of that boil. So we kind of split the difference between a hop that's used solely for the purpose of bitterness and one that's used solely for the purpose of aroma. So we kind of toss that in the middle. We actually toss it in at a point in the process known as first wort hopping. So we'll put hops into the kettle as we're running wort into the kettle. And the reason we do that is because the pH tends to be very low, and that tends to make the profile softer than it otherwise would be. A beer that's like this, there's absolutely nothing to hide behind. You're going to get some of that vegetal and that tannic nature if you don't watch it. So you want to watch how you throw your hops into it. You want to get your water chemistry right. We want to get your pH right, your temperatures, and so on and so on. But that's a trick the Czechs use, so I borrowed that from the Czechs. I did a first wort hop on this with the Saaz hops. But really the star of the show here, now that I know this beer and I'm looking for it, there's a hop known as Saphir, and it's grown in southern Germany. It's right on essentially the border of northern Italy. And it comes across as kind of a citrus tropical, but it's also floral and earthy.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of pith. That's what I'm getting. Is like it's got that tropical flavor, but like kind of like the outside of the fruit and not really the inside. Like a hazy IPA, you get the juicy part. This is more of like that like the grapefruit you have at brunch type of thing.
And if we did our job, it doesn't smell like an American IPA of any kind.
No.
But it is supposed to have more character than. And I love Czech Pilsners and I love German Pilsners, but those tend to be a little bit one-dimensional in that regard. They stay away from. In fact, a lot of these fruitier hops that we have today were grown and developed in these German breeding programs, and they threw them into the trash can, so to speak, because they didn't want to have that kind of aroma. Sure. They were growing them for their bittering capabilities. Anyway, so this is not something you'll see north of the border in Germany very often, but in an Italian Pilsner, it's kind of like a hybrid between what we call a West Coast Pilsner and a German Pilsner in that regard. And the West Coast Pilsner is going to be really even more so hoppy, more bitter than this, and even more aromatic than this. However, with this, we're focusing on that malt balance from those continental malts, mostly continental German Pilsner. They don't grow, as far as I know, a lot of malt, a lot of barley south of the border. So we're borrowing a lot from the Germans and the Czechs in making this. But the star of the party is Saphir hop. Mm-hmm. And if we've been fans of Russian River, and Firestone Walker is another brewery on the West Coast that we look up to, and they make one called Pivo Pils, and they use Saphir. Mm-hmm. And I've had it and I've been inspired by it. I have no idea how they make it. I just know that it's in there. Vinny from Russian River uses Aramis in his, and we wanted to stand apart. We've done enough to honor, to show praise to Russian River. Yeah. So I wanted to kind of, in some ways, show praise to Firestone Walker and Matt Brynelson over there. He's just a genius brewer.
Yeah, I was looking up the history of the Italian Pilsner because it's anytime you see like a new style of beer, it's always exciting to see why was this made? Was it a mistake? Was it a direct, like, I'm making this for a reason type of thing?
Yeah.
And it kind of was a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Where he was the Italian guy that was trying to make it, wanted to replicate a northern German Pilsner.
There you go.
And then kind of messed up in the process, and it was a Pilsner, so you can't really hide behind
That's
it,
it,
like you say.
Yeah.
And so he was like, well, I got to save it somehow, and so he did.
There has to be a music analogy. Somebody played the wrong chord or whatever,
right,
and now
like
it's
the Bob
there.
Dylan song, Knocking on Heaven's Door, the guy that said, oh, yeah, I know how to play the keyboards, and then was a step behind in every single one. And now it's like, that's so iconic.
Oh, yeah.
I think beer making is such an art beyond the science, because you can use like artistic freedom to make it, and that's what this first kind of pils, which was, or however you say it in Italian, was this first Italian Pilsner. And then the guy from Firestone Walker,
Yeah.
he went over there, tried it.
Yep.
According to this article, he was the brewer was incredibly passionate. Imagine that, an Italian being passionate about a food or drink that they made.
Sure. Yeah.
And he was like, well, I got to make something myself. And then he also messed it up when he was in California. And so that's why
now we have a
the
West Coast
American
Pils.
West Coast is different as well. So it's a comedy of errors to
I love that.
lead us here.
I love that. And this comes in at 45 IBUs, which is a lot.
That's pretty substantial.
To put that in perspective, that's more than Sierra Nevada's Pale Ale, which was released in 1980. And it was considered, with all of its malt backbone, it was considered the most bitter thing that many people in America had ever had in their life at that time. So it's funny that we're not only adding more IBUs than that beer had, but we don't have hardly any of that malt backbone that beer has. So it really stands out. And it really, like you said, crisp. I would say it's spicy and it's dry. And it
definitely dry.
It's snappy. Yeah. It's a drinkable, it's one of those beers you'll have with fish or anything fatty. It's going to work really well with that. And it should be light enough bodied and light enough in alcohol and carbs that you can have a couple of them.
What's the ABV on it?
Just under 5.
Just under 5.
So it's not crazy low. It's not crazy high. We needed to put a little of that ABV in there to give it some body. The ethanol itself gives it body. I should say that the malt, in order to bolster it, we do go through a laborious decoction process. And
that was my next question, because I wanted to follow up on you saying first wort hopping.
Yeah.
It'll lead to decoction. But with first wort hopping, do you heat up the kettle while those hops are in it? Do you do a toasting process?
As we're running off, we are heating in real time, but it tends to stay fairly low because we're adding, we're running off from our lauter tun, we're adding the
so
wort.
It's immediately, like you're putting them in and then the wort's going in.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And we want to hit that high gravity, that high density wort, but also low pH wort. It hasn't been buffered, or it's able to buffer that pH downward, and that has implications for the tannins and the polyphenols that are pulled out from those hops. And there are probably some other reasons why it's done. History is a lot of it when you talk to the Czechs, the Germans. I'm really falling in love with this idea of mash hopping for the same reasons.
Mash hopping?
Yeah, you throw them directly in with your grain. And then in that case, you're not ever heating it up.
Would that just be flavor then that it would add, or what would that do?
We're going to get I'm having a light bulb moment. I'm going to try to get a hop flavor chemist on here, because that is some fascinating pathways that play out in the mash whenever you subject those hops to those kinds of densities. You have substrate chemistry. You have the substrate it's such a thick concoction inside of that. It changes the chemistry. But here's the thinking in 30,000 feet view, that you're able to lock in some precursors that give you aroma downstream long after the boil. So during fermentation, how it gets there, we're going to have to bring somebody in. But a lot of it, again, is tradition, and it's because it's always been that way that people do this stuff. But anyway, they're kind of siblings, the first wort and the mash hop. I'm starting to lean a little bit maybe mash hop, but I still play, obviously, with these first worts. But then other than that, this has a bittering hop on this one of, I think it's just...
I love that you have paper.
Oh, man.
Recipes.
Yeah, I'm not going
to...
This is my very first time brewing this. I'm not going to mess it up telling you what went into it. Yeah, Magnum was our bittering on this. And Magnum is just one of those German hops that's made just for the bittering aspect, and for the most part. And then we really play up that Saaz at finish, and then in the dry hop, the Saphir. And there's some Saphir in the what we call the whirlpool too. So anyway, just more opportunities to lock in that oil. And as I'm drinking my sample here, I'm watching it. It didn't get poured off of a Lukr, but I can tell that it's going to have some great foam once we get it into.
Yeah, that was. We'll talk about that in a second, because one thing that I think you and I both have a very passionate love of Czech pilsners.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean, hence the Hildy.
Yeah. And in that case, I should have maybe said, to set it apart, Hildy's going to be really about doubling down on that malt.
Right.
And really about their signature Saaz hop.
Right.
Yep.
But one thing that the Czechs love to do is decoction, which is a word that you hear sometimes in craft breweries,
Yeah.
not so much in an ale house. It's more
Yeah.
like this is definitely a lager thing, and
Yeah.
you also have to have a special system for it. Tell me what in this day and age does the decoction actually? What does it do?
Well, and I was going to say, yeah, in the context of this foam, it actually is, we hope, well, this could be just arguably caused from stepping it through the protein rest to give us the right molecular weight protein that gives structure to these bubbles. But decoction is a way you can go through what we call step mashing, where we take a part of the mash out, we boil it, recombine it, and we hit those subsequent steps. Whereas we don't have to. We can just turn on the steam and just rise up to those temperatures. So what's happening on that heating side is what's interesting. And there's like these Maillard reactions again. The map for that is like Beautiful Mind with what was his name?
Russell Crowe.
Yeah, it's very much like that. There's a lot of really complicated chemistry that happens there, and you have to model kinetics. But at the end of the day, you get what we see on the production side. Working with these things, what we see time and again, it becomes counterintuitive. Like, for example, when we do Pirates Cove, that's our Hellas lager. We'll do a single decoction on that beer, and once in a while the guys will talk me out of doing one. They said, let's just see if this makes it better. If it doesn't have any effect, and we'll just stop doing it. It's so much work. So then we'll do one that without it, and then we'll come down to the tasting of it. We'll prefer the one that's decocted. But what really strikes me about it is we'll hold it up to the sunlight, and every single time, the one that has been decocted is lighter in color.
Interesting.
The one that's been cooked the most is lighter.
That is very interesting.
And the reasons that I have come to believe that it's happening is because we're creating conditions by breaking down all these proteins in the husk and the germ of the barley and the malt. I think what we're doing is we're creating conditions in the kettle downstream that are allowing the tannins and the proteins to complex and drop out in what we call hot break, cold break. And I think we see that some of that material come out of solution. We're able to leave some of it behind in our whirlpool before we hit the fermenter, and we're also seeing some of it drop out into the fermenter, and then we'll do what we call shave the cone. We'll come in there, we'll pull off some of that protein hop complex that have dropped out. My point is this: whenever you drop all these particles out of solution that would have otherwise interacted with the light, you end up with a clearer beer.
Yeah.
So we're all thinking, we're going to make our beer darker, and it turns out, and unless you have an extremely, like you have a direct fire system, in which ours is a steam fired system. Steam in our system is like 235 degrees, whereas direct fire is God knows what. So I think if you're making like a Czech Pilsner on a direct fire system, you're going to get some color.
Yeah.
If you're doing steam as we do, you don't have to worry about that as much, but you can get all these other benefits unless your goal is to get that color. And that's why when we're making like a Czech Pilsner and we want to get some more color, I'm starting to dabble in how pH can help us. So there's other knobs we can turn to get there. You can use also what's known as melanoid malts, and those are the malts that have been kilned at those temperatures.
When I'm a home brewer,
Yeah.
and so I was looking into doing a Bohemian lager at one point, and I was like, I got to do a decoction. I'd seen all these videos about triple decocted everything, things like that, and I went to the homebrew shop, and the guy's like, "You want to do that? Why don't you just put an ounce or a pound of melanoid in it, and you're fine?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." But that doesn't provide that same. Now that you're saying it, where it breaks it down, it clears it out.
That's one example.
Yeah, and this is also a process that was developed well before they had like super science going on.
Yes.
Like they were this is the only way they were able to raise the temperature of their.
You can measure
mash.
volume. That's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Back in time. And you can see when things are boiling. That's really all you got to know.
Yeah,
and
blood temperature, throw in yeast.
Yeah, that's
That's
what
they were thinking.
The rule of thumb is you put your thumb into the wort, and if it's the temperature of your body, then that's time to dough in, and that's the first step in an acid rest, and then you go up from there. The Germans are very process driven, and as are the Czechs, for sure.
And now we're here with this Italian Pilsner that you made that is called Italian Pilsner.
At this point, yeah. I should say before we get on with that, back to why these bubbles are working.
Sure, yeah.
A lot of those bad proteins have been dropped out. If you have bad proteins, meaning longer chain, shorter chain, they won't give you the structure you're looking for to make a bubble. And I think that Decoction helps with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in it, and it's one of the things I think that sets the beers apart. When you do that process, you could go to many other breweries in America and grab their Pilsner and try it out, and you can tell when it's like they're trying really hard, but they don't have that. They don't have the machinery to be able to do it, or they were like, we don't need to do that because we have modernized malts.
Right.
So why try? But when you do take that step back and making like a the classic style in a classic manner, you get why these beers have been the most popular beer in the world.
Yeah,
for
without
200
deviating.
years. Yeah, without it, and then you get it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The name, it's boring. Today
What's in a name? Tell us
it's
about
called, well, first of all, naming beers is more stressful in some ways than designing and brewing them.
It's like naming a child. It takes forever.
Oh my God. And we have some of our beers that have been named 4 different things because we can't decide on the best one. Or we're just terrible at naming things that people don't want to, that they're embarrassed to walk up to the menu and order. That's a bad idea.
What would be the most embarrassing name that you had for a beer?
Well, let's see. We had an alt beer that we called Hopfenharts.
That would be so, like 4 beers in.
Yeah.
Give me a
Yeah.
Give me a fart.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we named it Hopping Hearts just to make it to un-Germanify it. and then we abandoned that, and it eventually became our LGBT supporting. We call it Alt Together now. Yeah. But for
That's
a while,
a much better name.
yeah, right. Took 3 times we got there. But sometimes we intentionally throw bad names. I like giving our box really bad names. Like our Doppelbock is called Triple Debacle Doppelbock. Bad. It's bad because you can't say that after you've had 3 of them.
No.
and then its sibling is Triple Debaucher Rye, where we age in our rye whiskey barrels. But it has a
That is not what I thought that was called at all.
Debaucher Rye.
That's way different than what I was saying in my head. I'm glad I never ordered it.
Oh my God! What did they say? Triple Douchery downstairs. They come up with all kinds of names. The other Bach was Bob Loblaw's Law Bach. Like, it's a Arrested Development reference. Bob Loblaw's Law Bach.
Yeah, there
so
you go.
Bob Loblaw's Law Bach. That was a fun one. Half the people got it and laughed.
Yeah.
The other half would never ever order it.
Imagine that. 7% Bach, 4 pints into that.
Yeah. I have a Bob Loblaw's
Call Bob
Law Bach.
We'll get home.
Yeah. So, but there have been others. Our California Commons still doesn't have a name. It's been called Crooked Road. The most in reference to Lombard Street in San Francisco. We called it something else, but then the librarians took it and they ran with it, and we did a cause with the librarians in town, and they called it something really good, Card Cataloger.
Oh, that's nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
So as long as we're associated with them, it'll make sense.
Yeah. I do. Quick pause on that. I want to say that that's one of my favorite parts about a local brewery. It's that you're able to do that type of thing. And you turn around and be like, here's this fun thing that we got. We just met some fun people, and they want to do something good in this world. And like the good in the world is sometimes hard to find, but at local breweries, it's the same as the local music scene. If there's if it's thriving, you can tell.
Yeah.
And that's great. And I love that you did that with librarians. Thank you for helping
sure.
that out. So
we needed a
cool.
name, so we just partnered up.
Yeah, they know lots of words. So
that's
thank God for that.
actually very true. Okay, so this one we wanted to brew it. It was kind of like when we did the Mexican lager. We knew there was a gap in the lineup for it. We knew it's kind of hot and heavy right now. We also have this West Coast part of our brand that we're trying to play homage to, but also we have this continental European side of our brand. This one kind of was the Venn diagram of those two things for us, and it seemed to be another Pilsner that we could add and not take sales away from our Hildy Czech Pilsner. So we had it all finished, and no one can come up with a damn name. So I have a collaborator out in Sheboygan, and we've talked about him in the past. We do a rye IPA with him, Stefano, from Sheboygan. He has 2 restaurants, Pil Ritrovo, the Trattoria, and Field to Fork, and Slo Foods Market. He's all this stuff. He's just never sleeps. And so it dawned on me that, hey, this might be someone that's that Italian as Stefano Viglietti, and he takes his entire crew to Italy once a year, and he's got, like, this guy is the real deal. Is it the what's the Bear Award?
James Beard.
James Beard, that's it, yeah. So he's received that in the past. So many accolades, this guy. He's at 3 of the top 10 restaurants in the state.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm honored that he has his name on one of our beers, and vice versa. We collaborate on that, and I thought, this guy, he might want to work with us on this one. So I reached out, and not only did he want to, he just jumped all in. He said, all right, we're going to need a label, and we're going to need to name this thing. So there's a contest ongoing at the moment that people over in Sheboygan are voting on the name, and we're going to pull from that hat.
Okay.
We've been seeing what's been submitted so far, and there's some good ones.
No Bodie McBoatface or anything
No,
like
but we're going a little bit punny, though. We're going to stay away from those really hard to read ones. Like, for example, Pil Ritrovo means meeting place, and Pil Ritrovo works really well.
Okay.
So that's one that's on the list. But if anyone's listening, want to email us, we have time on this one. We may call it Italian Pilsner until we really land on one solid. It's okay to have a beer with no name until it finds a good home.
Sure, that's America right there.
Yeah, yep. So anyway, if we have time, tank space, it'll become at least a seasonal for us. We'll just let the customers decide. I like brewing Pilsners. This is inching me toward doing a West Coast, I think, eventually, a true West Coast Pilsner. Right. And I should have said, we're talking about how this is different than a Czech Pilsner or a German Pilsner. I kind of glossed over it. We're dry hopping this. We're putting hops in the fermenter. Mm-hmm. You won't see that in continental European brewing. You'll see it all over England. That's how English beers are made. But you don't see it like that in Germany and in the Czech Republic. So this brewer, I think that you mentioned, quote, made a mistake. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe he did some things that were different in that regard. Of course, you give that then to a really famous and accomplished West Coast IPA brewer like Matt Brynildson, and he's going to take it one more notch from there.
I think this is a great step in a direction, especially when you have, you've had many great beers, and I think, lager, amazing. We're in a part of America where we love to drink a lot of beer.
Yeah.
And so when you're looking at a way to drink a lot of beer, the lagers are definitely going to be.
This tastes like about 70 or 80 degrees outside.
It does.
Plus, yeah.
It tastes like I just cleaned up my backyard.
Yes.
And I am here for that.
Yeah. And actually, we're entering 60 degrees next week, so the timing is going to be just right.
Dios mío, man. It's going to be great. I can't wait. When is this? This is all. I messed up. Do you want to? Okay, sorry.
We have like 5 minutes left. So.
That's what I figured. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to be putting this on tap in the tap room in, I would say, as soon as the line opens up. We have so many beers. It's like FIFA is coming up in June, right? Mm-hmm. And we have literally 10 different countries will be represented on our menu at that time. And that was a pure accident. I thought, we got to play this up. We're not known for our screens that we don't have. But otherwise, there's a way to play this up. But yeah, we got to find a spot on the menu on the tap lineup.
You definitely do, and I hope it stays on until Lagerfest, which is going to be a long time from now.
But not really. It's never that far away.
Well, when it's Lagers, it's basically one beer away, right?
Yeah, never far away.
Before we wrap things up, we've got a couple other festivals happening in town or in the brewery. Anything you want to plug for today?
Well, by the time this airs, maybe we'll have missed it, but we'll have Stout Fest, and if they miss it on after this airs, Stout Fest happens mid-March every year. It's our 8th one, but what's relevant to audience listening now is probably going to be Lagerfest, if I'm being honest. It's really right around the corner. It's the first Saturday of October, and then before that, there's a chance this does air before this happens. Our birthday's in June.
There we go.
And keep an eye out for that, and we celebrate West Coast IPA on the weekend adjacent to that.
beautiful. It's going to be a big time.
Oh,
Thank you to Bobby for sharing Italian Pilsner with us today.
Okay.
That's going to wrap up this episode of Respecting the Beer. The show is produced by David Kelso with music by Sarah Lynn Huss. Be sure to join the Facebook group to connect between episodes and support the show over on Patreon, where you can get uncut episodes, access to specially brewed beer, and more. Until next time, please remember to respect the beer.